Hey, good morning. We'll give it a sec before we get, well, I guess obviously let some other folks jump in.
Hi, Bruce.
Hey, Debbie. We got some more folks.
Well, hello.
Oh, hello. We should have a couple more. Tim should be coming today.
Right.
I don't see Desiree here yet. We'll give them a second.
Yep. Brad, I have a question for you.
Mhm.
How do you say your last name?
I say it Ethier.
Ethier. All right.
Yeah, all the French people cringe when I say it like that, but well, blame my father.
Oh, is it a French last name?
Yeah,
So you should be
yeah,
Etier.
correct. Yes,
Yeah.
It
very
should be what?
Etier.
FTA?
Etier. Yeah,
Etier or
yeah,
Etier. Yeah.
yeah. My father, French from Ottawa, married a completely English woman. My mother moved to a 100% English community an hour away. It was lost on me. He actually changed the pronunciation because he thought it'd be easier for people to say. He was wrong. Yeah, I have two older brothers, and both of them pronounce it the French way. And I'm like, I fought for so many years to have it pronounced the way I just said it. I am not changing now. So literally, like if we're at a wedding or together with other family, it'd be introduced as Rob and Dave Etier, Brad Ethier.
Wow.
Yeah.
That would be.
Really?
Awesome.
That's interesting.
Hmm.
See, I've known you for so long, I didn't know that. So thanks,
There you
Bruce, for
go.
asking.
Yeah. I'm not shy about feeling stupid, so I had no clue. Okay, I think we've got almost everyone. I'm trying to look at the list. And Tim. Okay.
While you're doing that, Brad, I have a similar story for my family. My great grandfather was or my mom's last name is Haas, Haas. So it was always Haas. And then he was the head surgeon at one of the hospitals in San Francisco, and there was a Dr. Cross and a Dr. Haas. So in the 20s and everything, when it came over the speakers weren't that great back then. So they'd say Dr. Haas to the surgery, and both doctors would show up. And
That could
so
be problematic.
he's like, I'm changing this. I'm Dr. Has. It's so
So
then
it's
like
clear.
my
Yep.
then one just changed the pronunciation to has. Yeah. The things
Yeah,
we
that'd
did.
be a little troubling getting the wrong doctor called in,
Yeah.
especially back in those days.
It's all right
Yeah.
as long as both doctors come. It's when no doctors come.
True.
Yeah, when they think it's each other.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, he'll get it. He'll get it.
You'll get
Yeah.
it.
Jed, I didn't realize you were joining here. Did we have something specific with you, Jed, or are you just joining for?
I was joining. I had that that document, the conversion readiness assessment. Just wanted
Oh,
to
yes.
present
I
that.
thought you were talking about this afternoon call when you said we'd talk about it, but this makes much more sense.
Yes, because they overlapped in timings, so I just
Mhm.
canceled the other one because we're all here.
Oh, I didn't realize it was canceled. You're right. Okay. Yeah, if you
Because
want
they
to,
overlapped. Yeah.
do you want to jump into that, Jed, or?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So let me pull it up and share my screen. And so for those of you that don't know, I was meeting with Bruce and Julie earlier this week, and we have a conversion readiness assessment. I went back to my old school one, which is on Excel, just easier to do. But basically what this does is, makes us start thinking about, are we ready for conversion? Which at this point in time, I think we are, based
Hey, can
upon,
you zoom in a little bit, Jed?
sure.
Thank you. That's better.
Okay. Yeah. So this is just sort of a checklist as we get ready for conversion, want to make sure things are outlined. There's a couple of things on here, like, do we have the conversion plan documented and reviewed? I think a lot of that is in the process of being worked out, like who's going to be on site, where is the command center, that sort of thing. So that's what the upper section of conversion readiness is looking at. Like, when do we engage SolutionWorks? What about other suppliers? Are they all notified that we're going to be going live? Are they going to have someone on support? So this is just sort of a checklist there. As we scroll down through this, looking at the database. So have we built out everything that needs to be built in the system? From our standpoint, I think there's a couple of things that we're still in the midst of testing. I think there were some EKGs that we're talking through. But other than that, I believe that everything else has been built out. We have our charge codes and everything ready to go.
So, Jed, I
So-
guess in this instance, I haven't filled one of these out in a super long time, so it might
Yeah.
be a stupid question. But like, so all the database items built. I mean, is that where you would say no, but the risk is low because it's only like an EKG and some EKGs? Is that how we'd fill that out?
Right. Yeah, and
Okay.
so like I'll go ahead and put no, and if anybody has any other opinions, we could talk this through. But I would say it's low, and the reason why it hasn't been built out, there's a CR for EKG items. So then once what's the action plan to resolve this? We need to review and build the EKG items. And I believe that's in my court. So I'll put that in there. Now, here's something for the different sites, though. For the build that has been completed, has it been audited for accuracy? And so I know
So-
Julie's been actively reviewing her charges and everything, and it may be more of a unit testing, which we have down below, but has everybody else reviewed to make sure that the charge codes that we have in Cerner are built in the finance system as well?
Then, Jed, the goal would be that each site fills this out on their own, or do we have a tab for each of them that we're all keeping track of? Or
So
I think it's more of a general where we would say, have they been audited? And I think it's just more of a general piece. And Jed, correct me if wrong, but like we would say, If they haven't, no. We're waiting on
So
whoever, Quinty or somebody, to finish reviewing a certain piece.
yeah, and we could approach this from uh, multiple different ways. So basically, we could set this up so that I could copy this out and make one for Kingston, make one for Quinty, make one for each of the sites so that you guys are tracking individually, especially with the unit testing and database accuracy. You can check on your own so that, on a weekly basis, you just reviewing this to say, okay, I need an audit of what's in Millennium and I'm going to compare that for my site. That could be done easily by just, let's see, move a copy.
A question for, I'll just throw it out to like Marianne or Brad or Tim. While there's been testing going on in the non-prod environment and we have the interface set up, right, Jed and Monk or CERT, whatever we're in. Have y'all looked at how it's coming over and being received in your local systems?
Yes, in test for like Quinty, Debbie's been working on that, and we'll be continuing to work on that, especially more the next couple of weeks. But we still have to do some things like build some of our test stuff. We have to build into our live dictionaries. So I'm not sure
Okay.
where all sites, like Meditech sites, I don't know for SAP how that really works for like Kingston, or other areas. But we still
You have
have
like an
building that needs to
example?
be.
What do you mean? Like you
So
have to build test item?
So all the items that we had to build in in test, so any of the difference insurances or any of the
Okay,
new exams,
gotcha.
or even the coding for the supplies, because we called them, crutch, and now it's a numeric code. We have it done in test, but that needs to now be converted to live, and we have to manually build it. It's not like a copy over or a
Mhm.
script or anything. It's a manual build.
So
So that's
who is
Debbie's goal for the
owning?
next couple.
Okay,
Debbie will be working on that the next couple weeks. We're just
and that's
finishing
just
month
for
end, and
y'all.
then
So the other sites,
that's
y'all
just our
have to do a
site.
similar thing, and that's been discussed when y'all's in. Is that right? Like for the different organizations that y'all know what you need to do. Essentially, you're cut over. I can't really see anybody's faces, but okay. Oh, I see a hand. Debbie. Yeah, you're on mute, Debbie.
Just wondering, is it possible to get the most up-to-date like list to audit from to make sure all the codes? I think there were some changes the last while. Do we work off the DCW we had before, or is there updated audit a list? I don't know where Jed could send us a list of all the codes that we should have.
We could pull an audit of what's built in mock right now. I don't know,
that would
and
be good.
Jed, you probably would know better, but I don't know if you have like localized CDMs, charge codes, or anything.
Yeah, it's generic. It's really who's using what is dependent upon the clinical side doing
Virtual
their
use and everything.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I mean, we could pull the list for you, Debbie, but I would say it might be a lot more than just your stuff because you're enterprised essentially. So I can work on that while Jed's going through this. I can go through and pull that list and send it to this group if you want. Unless Jed, there's any reason for me to not do that at this point.
No, you could do it. I was just hopping in
Okay.
to show it, but
I'm in DA2 right now, so I'll pull
okay.
it.
All right.
I'll echo
So-
that for Brockville, what Debbie mentioned. It'd be helpful to get that list so that we could audit on our end. We're working, IT has a big role in this for us. So our systems analyst is working on the cutover plan.
Perfect.
Okay.
Can it be can they be grouped together like all the RAD instead of all over the place, sort of like to
Yes, they
group
will be.
them? Okay, it'd be easier if I were just going through all the RAD, all the ultrasound instead of jumping all over looking, trying to figure out which one is what.
I did speak maybe a little too quickly on that. They are categorized. So radiology will be fairly easy, I imagine. But like there's a thing called an activity type, and just think of it a grouping of similar charges, something that we use in Cerner. So like radiology, there's an activity type called radiology. Essentially, everything that is a radiology item or charge is in that activity type. That's kind of congruent for other areas, but then you get to certain ones where it's not as clear cut. It's not like departmental driven or departmentally defined type deal.
I think those
Go ahead.
those might be those supplies, miscellaneous supplies, like the cataract lens or crutches and canes.
Yeah, so like what he's talking about, you guys are on the same page. It's the auditory, the EKGs, the I think there's cardiology, audiology, and then there's like the special activity types, like what we had built out, which are for the canes and supplies used in the ED or what have you. So those will be broken out into separate, smaller activity types. So, okay. So I have three, Brockville, Quinty, Kingston, Provincial. Is it? Let's go through it as one, and then I'll provide this so that everybody can go through it on their own and sort of check through and make sure your site is updated. But going through the list at a high level, so auditing all the database items, making sure our charge codes are in there. The reason why it says database items, because for a more complex build, we could end up having multiple charge codes, where in prices and different things. This is actually kind of a basic one CDM for everybody. So the other thing is, has the change control process been developed, documented, and implemented? I would say yes, because we're not making any changes without it going through change control. So everybody's aware of that and it's well documented and everything. So getting into the users side of things, it's all of the users been gotten into the application and tested it, verified that they have the proper security access? And it's okay right now to say no, not everybody's been in yet.
Actually, one question for you, Jed.
Yep.
They approved us on updating a row with an initial work group or whatever. Who does that? They try to give it to me to do it, but I don't know how to adjust positions. Do they have a core resource?
We should have a core resource.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. I was just curious because I had no clue how to do that. So
Yeah. Well, there's a core resource, but if you need any help, just let me know.
yeah, will do. I'll check it out first. So I appreciate it.
All right. And then I think, Julie, you were going to mention something about access.
Yes. So at this point, as far as I know, nobody actually has access except me.
Is that no one has access in prod or no one has access in cert either?
No one has access. No one has been given, as far as I'm aware, Cerner access. Unless I am wrong.
I just received an email this week.
Yes, it's about the training,
up
right?
my access. Yeah, for the training though. That's
Okay.
only for the training world.
Yes. So, like I said, so we're a bit behind on that part.
And usually what they do is they have like a sign-on fair type thing where they set up and they're going to hand everybody their sign-ons and say, okay, make sure you go in and test out your applications and everything. Let me see.
Do they do that before training? Because they don't even know where to go.
Yeah, it's not usually before training. Usually that's like a week or two prior to go live.
Okay.
But if there's anybody that does have access, like we would expect Geeth to be going in and making sure she had the full access she needed. And if there's any test positions, we could go ahead and sign in with those test positions and make sure they have the proper access. But
So have the access been built on a rule?
yeah, so the access has been built for positions and the roles. So what they'll do is each individual user will then be assigned and built into the system so that they are in one of those positions.
So have we done that in this group? Because I would think regardless of hospital, the clerical staff would have pretty similar.
What Bruce has been working on.
Okay.
Yeah. Now I blanked on it. I forgot I was supposed to follow with like Brad and Desiree. But yes, we got it.
Sorry, Bruce.
No, you're
Ta-da!
good. I was gonna actually talk to y'all about this a little bit in the meeting, but we can get through this first.
Okay. This one this was not as accurate. So this is user record. So looking at individual patient accounts and everything. I don't think we need to do that since this is a net new. So, okay. Now we're going to get into the management reports and audits. So looking at reporting, we have our standard reports in the DA2 application, but if you don't have sign-ons, you probably haven't really reviewed them. But I just wanted to make sure that we've talked about, from your billing standpoint, I'm sure you have all the reports that you need in your billing system. From
So
a
reporting is the biggest black hole we have. We have
Okay.
absolutely no idea what's available, no idea what we need to use because we don't know what's available.
Okay. Great segue.
Biggest black hole ever. Double red.
Okay. And this, I'm going to give you very high level right now. And we could set up some time and go through this in more depth. But DA2 is our application where we have a lot of our reports. This is where in Millennium you would be going to if you wanted to do a high level audit of anything. Like we have our bill item audit. So like what Bruce is going to be pulling to verify all of our charge codes so that we can provide that audit. This is actually run in this tool. Then there's also what charges are suspended, where if there's an issue with a charge, like it's missing a CDM or something along those lines, where Geeth would be reviewing those suspended charges.
Are you
And
trying to
then-
share your screen, Jed, or are you just talking through it?
Oh, am I not sharing my screen?
Well, we're just looking at the Excel. Sorry, I didn't know if you meant to share DA2, but
Yeah, I do have I was signing into it. So if you can't see it,
We just see your Excel document right now.
okay, let me stop sharing and try and screen 2. Okay. All right, so DA2, so DA stands for Discern Analytics. This is our tool where we house a lot of our reporting. We'll get into some of the details that I think we need to dedicate a full call to it, to getting into the individual reports and showing you about the reporting portal, because this is where you could set up your favorites. And especially from a charge services perspective, you don't really want to have to fumble through all of the other reports. But interface charge report. So this would tell us, here's the charges that we are anticipating going over to the billing system. So we have our interface file name, organization, the FIN, and the charge information that's being sent out. So we've got a number of reports. Let's look to set up some time and go through them in more detail, but this is the tool that we would be using for those. Okay.
Now, as a CAN report, Jed, we can't change anything, right? Like it is what it is.
Right. There's we have a number of canned reports. Now, Janet Schaefer and a few other folks have gone through the reporting training, and they would be able to create or take those canned reports and do a couple modifications if needed. I know she's
Like
been working on a number of workload reports.
Like the report you just showed, would they have the CDM codes that like more so than trying to understand the descriptions? Like the first one was a lab code. Would we have like the CDM code L? Oh, there it is. Okay.
Yep. Yeah. So this this interface charge report, this is what's being sent outbound. So you can run it like on a daily basis to figure out. For my site, I should have had 200 lab charges, 100 radiology charges, and just do a reconciliation between the two if there's any questions.
So this can be taken down to Excel then and
Yep.
manipulated. Perfect.
Yep. Copy the whole thing, copy and paste it into Excel.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, and yeah, like I said, I think it'd be good for us to just dive into reports on a full call because there's lots of questions. There's lots of what about
Oh,
this
yes.
and everything. Yeah. So,
Yes, yes, yes.
so I'm going to put that as a no. Medium to high. I think it's a high right now because it's an unknown, but I think I'll put it as high. Let's just do that. And then need to have a reporting session. Okay. And the thought of this is a living document from now through go live, because we're going to want to track against these different items to make sure we're progressing against it. So as of today, this is a high issue because we haven't had that session. But once we have that session, I'm sure we'll be able to mark it off as yes, and then eliminate the risk or drop it down to a low. So talking about that, who would be, well, and I guess this really has to be determined once we go through those reports, but looking at who would be the one to review the reports. From a charging perspective,
So we've talked about this a bit, and I don't realize back. But so we've talked about this a bit. It's something we're gonna have to, like you said, kind of do as we go through them, and we'll do on this call. But for the most part, I mean, unless there's other ones they get, there's not a huge amount that I'd imagine they'd be running out of here. It'd probably be more Geeth running these.
Right. Yeah.
And somebody asked about an audit, essentially interface charges audit, but ones that haven't interfaced yet, essentially, which I don't see a report for like charge process flag, but that would be a pretty easy one for Janet or someone to manipulate.
Yep.
But yeah, we'll have to go through and figure out who would be owning those or when you would run them, that kind of stuff still. But more than likely, most of these are Geeth, and y'all will just be looking at reports in your system. Oops.
Yeah, from a direct charge services report perspective, you guys are accurate. It would mostly be Geeth, but there's lots of other registration type reports that we do need to run daily.
Yep.
That again we haven't seen yet.
Yeah, that will. I'll have to, whoever it is. Like when I go into the reporting tool, I only see like 10 reports right now, and they're only charge services. None of them have anything to do with registration. None of them have anything to do with that. So that's where we'll have to make sure we request that when they set you up with access to DA2, that you'll have the appropriate folders. It should be, I guess it's patient access, or if reg, if they have that, maybe some scheduling stuff too. But yeah, that is a good point, Julie.
Yeah, and then some of our sites do billing on behalf of the cardiologists. They would need reports for those specific doctors and or service codes so that they can do those billings as well.
Are the
Jed,
reports
do you-
flat?
Say that again.
Are they a flat file? Or are they interactive?
They're all going to be flat, like
Yeah.
what Jed showed you earlier. Is that what
Okay.
you mean by that? Now,
Yeah,
there's
so
some,
if you pulled up a report for patient registration, for example, and staff would know that the financial class or an address was wrong or an address was missing or whatever, they can't drill into that line and it would take them back to the visit and fix that master
No,
data.
ma'am. No,
It's a
ma'am.
flat text. Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
darn. All right,
Uh,
good
Yeah,
to
In
we-
in our registration training, you'll see they have things that are called work lists that are interactive, but they are different than a report.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so we will see that this week, actually.
Oh, you guys are doing a
We're doing a
Regis-
charge services training, registration training session this week and
Okay.
next week for each of the different sites.
okay. All right. So the next one on here we had was the responsibility of monitoring and auditing charges. And I would think that that should be a Geeth functionality. Is that what you understand as well? And when we talk about monitoring and auditing, so looking for suspended charges, like maybe an item was half built and it needs to be fixed. You know, it's my understanding Geeth would be reviewing those suspended charges and updating those as needed.
Yes, we had decided it was going to stay with her until optimization, at which point we'd take a look at it and see if this was something that the sites wanted to take over.
Okay. Okay. Auditing process. I know I've got a session set up with Geeth around the maintenance and everything. That's in 2 weeks. So I'll make sure we go through this again, but we do have an audit in DA2, and we go through that thorough with her.
What kind of audit is it referring to? Like a suspended charge one, or
This
orders
is more,
without charges?
yeah. So we've got a couple of different ones. We've got the orders without charges, but this is more. I view this as more of the build.
Oh, like
So-
a bill item audit kind of deal.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if
Mhm.
someone says how, I'm missing my L026 charge and I'm not seeing it, she would be able to go in, audit the domain to see is it built and what is it built on, or if it's not built, she'd be able to say it's not built on anything.
Gotcha.
Just
Yes.
quick question. As a backup, has Ricardo been doing all of the training that Geetha's been getting?
Yes. And in what is it? Not next week, the week after, he's in there, and I think we have a total of 6 or 7 people that will be in that class with them.
Oh, there's more than the two of them.
Yeah. So,
Okay, cool. That's excellent. And they're all Lumio Ops team people?
yes.
Thank you.
All right. All right. Getting into the testing. This is really the key part of this. So looking at test scripts, I know for our unit testing, system testing, integrated testing, a lot of that has already occurred. So the test scripts were created for those. But I want to make sure that everybody's gone through and been able to do a test and validate that all of their charges are flowing across appropriately. So I think this is an area where, are you guys actually still going through and doing unit testing or system testing?
I mean, I think that's gonna be, and y'all speak up, but they're gonna continuously be doing that. I would think though, all the scripts they have been developed.
Okay.
I would say. I mean, there's obviously like the one-off of Brad and the EKG, but there's not a script. We're not gonna.
That's all part of the change control.
Yeah, that's too much. I would say though, the second one I would say is no, because they haven't really. I mean, unless that's just saying by individual, like have they been able to open them up and things like that? I don't really know what application database is supposed to refer to.
So just the applications themselves, like being able to go into Charge Viewer, being able to.
Okay. Is that
That's-
not what regression testing is?
So this one is, so yes and no.
Okay.
So when we're talking about making sure the application and database had been thoroughly tested, like being able to go through a normal workflow of and going in, I've seen or I need to review the charges on patient X. So I want to go into Charge Viewer and open up the application, verify that all the charges are there, making sure that I can do my normal workflow, like maybe I need to push it on through and it's in interface status or what have you. So some of this would rely heavily on Geeth to be doing, because like she would be going in probably more often and reviewing charges and getting into maybe some power chart or reviewing the documentation to make sure the charges are accurate. And that's what this is. When you're talking about regression testing, the regression testing is, hey, I've taken a package or the domain was just copied and I just want to go in, click around, make sure I don't get any errors.
Yeah, that's what I so application's almost like a workflow to a
Right.
degree. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I guess then that would be a yes, because she's gone through that and been able to do that, isn't that right?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, then yes. I would say I don't even know why you need regression test scripts, but
Regression, it's always good to have a regression test script. If you are, like, say Geeth is out on vacation and you
Yeah.
know,
something to
or-
hand off to you.
Yeah, or you could just say, hey, I need you to sign into this application, do these steps, what have you. So let me put this one for the regression testing. Bruce, I don't want to step on your toes. Is it okay if I bring this up with Geeth during the maintenance training?
Oh yeah, go for it. Absolutely. I mean, it's really like, hey, just jump in and make sure you. I mean, you could essentially just put in the applications in a Word doc or bullet list of saying, hey, if y'all take a new package, go click into these. Make sure you don't get one of those CRM fails or whatever they are.
Yep. And I have one that I've used for years. So it's,
Oh, then
yeah.
if you would you send that over to me whenever you get a chance? I'd just like to see it because I've never seen one.
Yep. So, okay. I'll put that as no, but okay. So when we go through our testing, the other thing that I want to point out is that we're we're documenting that it's been validated. So that's one of the things that we get into here. It's going to ask us application functionality. So this one probably doesn't need. Have the applications been tested and certified for the level of functionality that will be converted? That's a yes, because Geeth has gone through it, and our cert copy from prod, everybody who's been in cert has seen that it's like for like. Let's see. I'm going to jump down because I don't want to take your full call. So as we get into the application testing, I put NA on a number of these because it's asking specifically technical billing versus professional billing. But the key one that I want to bring up is, have we tested all of the items, all of our charges? And if we haven't tested all of the charges, have we at least seen them go through so that they trigger a bill? And what's our comfortability on those?
Gotcha. We are, again, kind of goes back to our unit testing. We're almost done testing the codes to a point where we're comfortable. It's as we're at the one-offs now, like, oh, this didn't look nice. Have we fixed this? Kind of thing. That's kind of where we're at with everything. And each hospital should be, from their test environment, if they can, trying to make sure that they can run an invoice based on what's come across. Normally, by the time it is able to make it successfully into our downstream system, we're usually good once it's there.
Yeah.
It's getting it there.
And I think that's where this next section comes in handy, is interface testing. Because have we tested all the charges in Cerner? We're almost there. Now, are we seeing that all the messages are flowing across to the billing? So testing those HL7 messages. Yeah. And this may be where we start to deviate from the holistic level and looking more at the individual site level. So I'm fine with skipping over this one right now, and then maybe we go into it on a future call, or if you guys want to fill this out on your own, it's for your site, and then we can go through those results on a future call.
Yeah, I think that's good.
Yeah, because we want to make sure everybody is on board, and I know going site by site with each of these individual testing questions might be kind of tedious. So, okay. After the interface testing, I know this is something that Julie and I were working on earlier this week, is volume testing. So pushing through a number of charges. If there's any sites that do want to do a volume testing, I can do batch charge entry where I can upload charges all at once. One thing that we did find with our testing is that I put in one code, and because it was all the same time, it kind of errored out. So I'm working on a better script for that.
At least we know.
Yeah.
The system does not like 1,000 of the exact same codes on the same patient.
At the same time.
Good test.
Hey, Jed, how much is left on this document? Is this the last section of it?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Like operations and training considerations. A lot of the rest of this would actually be more for Geeth.
Okay. And you sent this over to us, right?
Yep.
Okay. I would say we've kind of gotten through a lot of it, and if we can table it and kind of come back to this next time,
Yeah.
or on a separate one, because I think some of these are going to be very good, especially the interface piece that we do need to localize, but a lot of the other pieces are very much enterprise-wide that,
I'll
and we
send
can go
this
through and kind of update
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
on our
So
own.
I'll send this over to you, Bruce. And if you want to make some changes, go through it, what have you. I just wanted to introduce this to the
Yep.
group to make sure everybody looked at what we were kind of gauging on where we are with our conversion readiness, and some targets for us to look forward to. So yeah. All right. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, please just send that over, and then I'll look at it, and then we can also figure out a time. to
Okay. Sounds
circle back
good.
to it.
Yep.
I guess before I just kind of jumped in there, was there any questions from anybody for Jed? We all look super excited to be in this meeting.
Just a reminder, so I think I mentioned this earlier this week. So Jed is away the next 2 Thursdays. So if you have any questions for Jed, we're going to run them through Bruce and or Geeth or myself, and we will feed them to Jed when he's around.
Yeah.
Are you gone just on Thursdays, or are you gone Thursday, Friday?
So it's Thursday, Fridays. Our next 2 weeks are
Okay.
days. Yeah.
Yeah, you're getting up to like Yom Kippur or something.
Yom Kippur is tomorrow night.
Oh, okay.
And then there's a couple other holidays after that. So
Getting into the holiday season.
yeah. Last year it was like on the weekend, so I didn't miss any days. And then this year it's like Thursday, Friday. So it's
Hey, that's perfect. I'd rather it be during the week.
Don't disagree with that one. That's
Yeah. Well, thank you, Jed. I appreciate it.
Okay.
And if there's anything, just give me a shout if you need anything.
Okay.
Sorry, go ahead.
And I'm gonna stay on in
Cool.
case there's anything else comes up, and I'll get you that regression test script while we're talking here.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, Debbie.
I just have a question for Jen. I was just curious, for the surgical code, does it all have to be sent, or can you send only certain ones to the interface?
So when we have a charge drop, it's gonna go to the interface. So I know we've got a couple different setups here. From a charge services perspective, we send over the charges as they drop, meaning that if radiology completes their order, if surgery completes their documentation, the charge will go at that point in time. Now, some sites like Julie, I believe yours is real time where you receive it near real time, so we send it right across. Others are it's being held till midnight and then dropping all the charges for that day.
So
So it's a site by site basis.
this is not what she's asking. So what she's
Okay.
asking on specific surgical procedures, her example was bundled care surgical procedures versus all surgical procedures. Debbie had the question of, could we put CDM bill codes on specific surgical procedures and not all surgical procedures so that we can collect data on QPPs, bundled care, etc.
Oh, yes. So here's one of the setups that we did for surgery, and it's not being interfaced over. So that's one of the catches with surgery. We have all of our surgical procedures set as a stats only. So that if you wanted to see how many rhinoplasties procedures we did for the last year, you could go into Millennium and you could see how many rhinoplasty charges we had. It's just for statistical purposes in Millennium. It doesn't get sent over to finance.
But there would be a report potentially that could be run?
Potentially we could set up a report for that.
That would allow us to manually create it then in our system.
The reason I asked was because certain codes, like for our country patients, where there would be a charge for, say, a knee replacement, they came into our country and had an accident, broke the knee or something, needed a knee replacement. Instead of having to cost out the charge, if we had that code come in and had that code set up in our system to match the CDM for that procedure, then we can attach a price to it and have that price drop directly into the account. But I don't want for every surgical procedure to come across, only certain ones. That's why I was kind of curious whether we can say like a C-section, if somebody came in and had a baby here from our country, and that C-section procedure come across, and when it hit our system, it look at what the insurance financial class it is, and then pick up the price for that and enter that onto the account.
Yes, and so we do have the capabilities of doing that through our tiering logic. We would be able to say the patient was out of country or out of Providence, and so go ahead and have the charge drop and send it over to the finance system. The design that they had come up with, though, was not to send the surgical procedures over, and so that's why I thought this might come up, which is why it's all stats only right now, just in case.
It might be
based on
too late. Sorry, Julie.
No, that's literally where I was going exactly. Based on our timing, is this something that we should be just putting on our optimization list?
Yes.
Is this like what y'all brought up yesterday?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. So it is possible to do it, but it's just a future wish item.
Yeah.
Okay. That's good to know. And there can be logic around it too, Jed, that it's a surgical procedure, but if it was an OHIP patient, it wouldn't drop. So it actually looks at the financial class of the patient before it decides to drop. Oh, that's
Absolutely.
awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. That'd be great.
That's you'd have to be specific with what those criteria are, like the financial classes. But otherwise, they would, like Jed's saying, it's pretty common logic, or that logic's pretty commonly used. It's just have to be specific with those details.
It's only mostly the primary insurance that we would be interested in for any of those charges to come across.
Yeah, and one of the things you'll see, I don't know if you've actually gone through any of the registration yet, but with registration, we have the health plan, but we also have what's called a financial class. So it's a higher level, like this is Canadian or OHIP patient, and then what is their actual plan would be falling underneath that versus, out of Providence Okay, well, what Providence are they from? If they're from BC or something, we can have that as a separate plan. And we could get down to the insurance plan level, or we could keep it high level, just out of Providence, out of country, that sort of thing.
That's good.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions on that? All right.
We-
So I know we only have a few minutes left, but so got a couple of takeaways. A couple of takeaways is in homework, unfortunately. I have mine. I've still got to meet with Desiree and Brad so we can knock that thing out. But last time when we met, we talked about like processes that are flipping. So hold on, I was looking at it. So anything that's going from paper currently to electronic, or it's electronic going to paper, or just net new, right? Of any of those kind of processes. So actually, this will Jed would actually you would help with, but we talked about the ambulance where it's paper currently and how that method looks. We need to understand how that looks. We got the home care, non-insurance supplies, OHIP billing, things like that. So I can send out the list of what I'd put down before, but want to have y'all look at it and think about it from y'all's site of what are some other actual processes that you're aware of that you don't know necessarily how it's going to work in the future, or if you do know, still call them out so we have a list of it, right? Of anything that's changing, that way we have something on the radar and can have some sort of a plan around it for when it actually happens. So that is the first piece. Is any of those process changes or net new processes? And then there was one that I'm blanking on.
Cutover plans.
Yes, thank you. The cutover plans. So not necessarily for Cerner. We've looked at that document, I think, before, like the Oracle one. It's the cutover plans for any of the other systems that aren't Oracle and that are feeding in. If there's anything that's going to be impacted, what that looks like. I'm not sure what that will be on y'all's end, to be honest, but if there's any systems that feed into it that would be impacted by this, is there any kind of plans that need to be taken with them, any updates, whatever that might be. So, yeah, Lori.
Is there not a cutover team in the project? Like, sorry, maybe it's a dumb question, but like, are we supposed to be figuring all that out and where the data resides and how it's going to come over and who's like?
Not so the Cerner side with the Oracle one or the Cerner implementation, that's like Jed. We've worked with Jed on it or the other consultants of, when we go into live, what do we need to do? What are the steps that have to be taken? What has to be put in? Whatever, right? We've gone through that, I believe, but this is for the non-Cerner one. So if you have any other systems that are in tandem, right, or you're working with, it might be impacted. I don't know, Julie, if you have an example of anything you can think of.
Yep. Well, pharmacy is a great example. Our BDM system is going away. So the pharmacy team, because I've been working with them for a while, they're including me on their cutover conversations. But there's lots of other softwares happening at KHSC where something is happening where I haven't been involved in any of the cutover conversations. And it's a reminder, an awareness that people need to share information with us. So again, it's more, I'm treating it as a proactive approach. I would much rather you reach out to your interface and IT teams and find out what the plan is versus waiting for somebody to tell you and then they don't tell you. So let's reach out and say, don't forget about me. It's my tag phrase at this point. And just get it out there that you need to know, right? You need to know. So we need to just have an understanding of what that looks like, how we're involved. Have they created a cutover plan where we need to know something, but they forgot to tell us that we need to know something? Sometimes we just, we might not need to be involved, but then again, we might. Brad, go ahead.
I was just going to say that I did bring this up to Jonathan because I think a couple weeks ago you were asking me about that, Julie, and he
Yep.
literally pointed to this huge flow chart on his whiteboard in his office. And there's some systems I never even heard of that that are involved in this.
Yes.
So I'm quite glad that Lori brought that up about isn't there another team? I know there is within our facility.
Good. Yep. You know, and some of them are going to be more sites that are on top of it than others, but again, there's a lot of sites where the teams are siloed. So again, they're doing their planning, they're talking to their team who have direct input, and they forget that there is an output or other teams that may be impacted by this information. And that's the part where if we just stick our necks out there and ask, we'll find out the information without too much stress is all. But yes, is there a central person? Not really. How's that? Not really. There isn't one central cutover team. The cutover teams are based on modules and modalities.
There's not an oversight?
Sure, Dino is an oversight, but
Freaking God. Sorry,
you know what I mean? Like,
I'm muting.
See, the benefit for us here is that the director of finance and the director of IT is
are the
Jonathan.
same person.
Same
Yeah.
person.
For those of us who aren't so lucky,
Hmm.
like I said,
And living in silos.
And living in silos, correct. Again, based on the conversations that I've had where I have reached out, they are forgetting about charge services. So I'd much rather insert myself than wait and find out and be reactive. I'd rather us be proactive. So there are a lot of groups, just so you know, that have not fully engaged in their cutover plan. There are some groups who are definitely just starting that now. So it's not like we're behind with everything, but there are a couple of groups that have also started and are actively working on it. So
Yeah, so we're at past the time. Jed just kept rambling. I'm glad he jumped off so I could finally say that. He just wouldn't shut up. No. But I don't want to hold y'all much longer. Just if y'all can, like Julie said, talk to whoever it is about cutover, and I will send y'all the list of. It's not pretty, but I'll send you the list of the few things that we called out about processes that are new, stopping or changing, things like that. And doesn't got to be super in depth at this point, but the idea is let's at least get them out there, and then we can start looking through it and asking questions. Because ideally, a lot of these Jed could probably answer. At least based on certain things, right? He could answer some questions to us that didn't help us push along. But please just work on that, and then we'll kind of circle back to it in a couple weeks whenever we meet again.
Yeah, and Bruce,
Can I ask
you
a
mentioned
quick
that you.
question too?
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Mary.
No, go ahead, Brad. Go ahead, Brad. Go ahead.
Okay, I was just going to say, if you mentioned about meeting with me, send me some times that are convenient
Yeah.
for you. I'll send you a Teams request and we'll get her done.
Yeah, that's perfect. I know it's only going to take us 10 minutes, if that. So I just kept forgetting it since it's not that is strenuous. But yes, I will. Yeah, Miriam.
Just wondering about pharmacy. Julie, have we heard anything on that on Pharmacy World? Is it? I don't have any test files. I took a peek this morning. Is there anything coming down the pipes? Okay, so sit tight. And the insurance list. Do we have a finalized insurance list yet? Or
they just started working on it at the end of last week. So as far as I know, they're not done yet.
Okay, so when we get that, that's one of the ones we'll want to be checking with our system as well, for sure.
Definitely. Yeah. So out of all of those changes, just so you guys know how it looked awful and there was so many, between all of our duplications and whatnot, there ended up being 88 changes.
Yeah,
which
good.
is not very many. So,
well,
and some of those changes were spelling errors, right? So it actually wasn't terrible at all, but you had to get through that exercise to get down to the 88, right? So yeah, hopefully I will hear back from them. I meet with them on Wednesdays, so I should hopefully have an answer for next Wednesday for you guys.
Jody?
Okay, sort of off topic, but kind of on topic. For pharmacy, Julie, you'll see some emails swinging back and forth trying to figure out what the pharmacy training is because we've got the AP stuff, right?
Yes.
In your email, you said we have to attend all 3 days for
Yes.
1 hour a day.
Yes.
You're still on this email chain, but so our pharmacy manager just wrote and said that in their pharmacy supply chain call today, she's confirmed that the training session is happening over 3 days, but pharmacy techs only have to go 1 day because it's the same thing all 3 days.
Oh,
So,
okay. Well, that is fun. Okay, let me find
Yeah.
out.
so you're on that email chain, so you can see that, but
Okay.
that would be great if we could cut it down to 1 day instead of 3, but
Okay. I will ask that question. Like I said, it would be great also if it was. I was not under that
Mhm.
impression, but that's easy enough to ask that question.
Good.
So you're
Okay.
thinking that it's 1 day. Perfect.
That's what our pharmacy manager is under. She confirmed with Matt Hayob and Charlene that the training session
Okay.
is happening.
Okay.
And then, of course, she suggested that because our pharmacy tech is going October 29th, that we should attend the virtual session that day to keep it all in the family.
No, I appreciate that. Okay, let me validate that with you because if that's
Okay.
the case, then amazing. Helps
Yeah.
all of us, right?
Very much so. Carry on.
All right.
Perfect.
Are we good to go? Anything else? All right. I will let y'all get back to it. Thanks, guys. We'll chat later.
All right. Thanks.
Okay, have a
Thank
good weekend.
you.